knockout in round 1. We survived round 1. Now we headed to round 2. My sponsor for the night. We have one sponsor so far. That's One-on-One Pharmacy. Listen, people. You want good treatment when you need medication? Check out my little cousin, Shantia Heel McBride, and her lovely team at One-on-One Pharmacy. Fill your prescription at the store or send your refills via the online site, oneononepharmacy.com. The 2 locations are East Street South, opposite the FML building, where they say, everybody wins. The second one is on Charles Sanders Highway in the Island Luck Plaza. Say hello to my good cousin Stephanie. We grew up together, she could tell you when you reach there. And of course, tell them Maritime Matters sent you for good treatment. To the listening audience out there in Radio Land, it will really be remiss of me to go any further and not introduce my wonderful producer up front. He virtually held my hand and guided me through the first show. It was only me one. Well, it will be me one tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the insatiable, the man of the hour, the man with the power, the one and only Craig Alexander Gibson. Okay, so his middle name is not Alexander, eh? I just thought it would sound good because that's my middle name. And also, that's the middle name of many, many popular Bahamians. You know them just like me, Alexander. Plus, it means the great, eh? Like Alexander the Great. Glenn Alexander the Great Bain. That's me. Will you just take a bow for the audience, Brother Craig? Thank you, sir. And thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the voice that you're now hearing is that of yours truly, Captain Glenwood Alexander Bain. Now that one is Alexander for true. Most people refer to me as Captain Bain. My friends at Carbon Building Supplies call me Captain. Anytime they see me anywhere, Captain, and I know who that is. They are from Carbon Building Supplies. Our manager in our Freeport office, Mrs. Lydia Ferguson Henfield, calls me Cap. Anytime I hear someone say Cap, I look around and oh, that's Lydia somewhere. Some get rather formal and call me Mr. Bain. And of course, my family and close friends know me simply as Glenn. But I'm not touchy with how I'm referred to at all. Like my friend Preston used to say back in the day to the young ladies, you could call me anything, but just don't call me too late. Preston, remember those days? Maritime Matters is weekly at 19:30. That's 7:30 p.m. For those who still sure how we do this 19:30 and 7:30 thing. Every Tuesday night here on Love 97. Now when we say 19:30, remember that we have a 24-hour clock. In the maritime world, we basically use the 24-hour clock. Yeah? I remember when I went from the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, I was seconded to the Port Department as the Deputy Port Controller. And they had this list, this harbor control ship list, when ships come in, when ships go out. And they had the AMs and PMs, and I was like, hold on now, this is the maritime world. We need to put this thing on a 24-hour clock. And initially it was a mess, them trying to figure out, I don't understand what this time is to be in put here. But eventually, man, they were superstars on the time, you know. But simply put, all you do is when you reach 12 o'clock, remember you got a 24-hour clock. So 2400 is midnight. After 2400, you got 0001. That's the first minute of the day. And you just keep counting minutes. Now after 60 minutes, you get the first hour. So that's 0100, 0100, 130, 0130. And that goes on until you reach 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, straight up to 12 o'clock. Now what happens after 12 o'clock? We ain't have no 13 o'clock. Yes, we do. We call it 1300. And then 2 o'clock would be 14 because it's the 1400 hour. So that's 1400. So 2:20 in the daytime would be 14:20. Now we know that wouldn't be 0230 or 0220, which is 2 o'clock in the morning. Anytime you talk about them early morning times, you're talking 0. Anything before 10 o'clock in the morning is 0. 0800, 0900, and then when you get 10 o'clock, you get 1000, 1100, 1200, 1300, straight up to 24 again. So when you get used to it, when you get up at 5 o'clock, everybody knows that's 1700. So we'll just try and enlighten you as we go along with this time. So our show starts every Tuesday at 19:30 here on in on Love 97 FM. The purpose of this show. We put on the show to highlight persons that made significant contributions to maritime in the Bahamas. We're really focusing on people. And to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities. We also focus on opportunities in the maritime sector because there are a lot of opportunities that we don't even know about. You know, and we're gonna get into opportunities. Oh, I got some shows coming up, especially with these guys with the charter yachts, and they're ready to hire hundreds of Bahamians. So we can be talking about some good stuff. Every episode on Maritime Matters, we will have an exciting guest, either currently or previously engaged in maritime activities. Tonight is no exception. We have an incredibly dynamic maritime pioneer that has made significant contribution to the mailboat industry in the Bahamas for over 70 years. Yes, he was in the mailboat industry from way back, and he is a superhero in the mailboat industry. We're going to hear from him tonight, and we're going to delve deep into mailboats. As always, you can expect a lively, informative, and tastefully provocative conversation. I promise you, halfway through the show, we will open up the phone lines to receive calls. Meantime, I will give my views on numerous maritime situations, so it might be a good idea to jot down a few notes as we move forward. Should you wish to have contributions when we open the phone lines in the next half hour or so. We open this, our second episode of Maritime Matters, with my views on the following current maritime situations. Last week we talked about the Genting Hong Kong. Well, the Genting Hong Kong group that owns those two ships, the Crystal Cruises and Crystal Cruises ships, Crystal Symphony and Crystal Serenity. Well, as I told you, they are officially bankrupt. But who is the Genting Hong Kong group? You got Genting, a group of companies. You got the main one is in Malaysia. Now the Genting Hong Kong basically stem out of that, but is not directly linked to them. So when the Genting Hong Kong goes down, that doesn't mean the Genting group of companies goes down in Malaysia and in Singapore, right? So who are these guys? Okay, so what Genting wanted to do, one of the owners wanted to get into cruise ships because he figured, look, cruise ships doing so well, yada, yada, yada. So what he did is he acquired Crystal Cruises. And as you know, Crystal Cruises got a slate of ships. It's not only those two ships. They got like 7 or 8 ships. And I got them all written down here, but we ain't got time to go through all that, right? And then after they got those cruise ships, they purchased Dream Cruises, which also had a slate of ships. Now, Dream Cruises and Crystal Cruises together account for 3.5% of the world cruise ship fleet. And that's big time. They are 5th behind Carnival, who has 37%, RCI, who has another 20+%, TUI Cruises with 3.8%, and then you got the Genting Hong Kong, who basically got 3.5%. So you see, these guys are huge players in the cruise ship world. So what they did after they bought Dream Cruises and Crystal Cruises is they bought a shipyard. The shipyard named MV Werften, which is based in Eastern Germany. It was a combination of 3 shipyards. Oh yeah, I did some research, by the way. I didn't know all this stuff before now. So it was a combination of 3 shipyards they merged, they bought, and they changed the name to MV Werften. That's W-E-R-F-T-E-N. You can Google it and get all the details on that if you wish, but yes, that's what they did. And they was building the 2nd largest cruise ship in the world. Now that cruise ship was being built under Dream Cruises, which is the 2nd cruise ship cruise line agency that Genting owned. And that would have been the 2nd largest class of ships in the world. We know that the Oasis class, they got about 5 or 6, I think 3, 4 or 5 ships now from the Oasis class that are the only ships over 200 gross tons. The Oasis class. Now this will be the 2nd class of ships, and it's called a global class, which the ship is 208,000 gross tons. All the other cruise ships in the world is less than 200,000 gross tons. And that is how huge this is. So So you carry most cruise ship passengers, and this one will carry over 9,500 passengers. No cruise ship in the world now carries over 9,000. This one will carry over 9,500 cruise ship passengers at any one time. That's their capacity. So this was a huge deal. And this ship is only 75% built. So the fact that it's only 75, 80% complete, but Genting couldn't raise the finance to finish it. They ran out of money. They ran up debt of some $3.5 billion to their creditors. Yeah? So that's what caused them to go into bankruptcy. So all their assets are likely to be auctioned off. Crystal Cruises and Crystal Symphony, Crystal Symphony and Crystal Serenity are now under Admiralty arrest and have been served a Supreme Court writ of summons by the Admiralty Marshal of the Bahamas. The Admiralty Marshal currently is Senior Commander Brian Wright, who is now the Port Controller. So the procedure usually entails providing 2 weeks for the owners to submit a rebuttal. You know, they got to say, well, you say my ship's under arrest. These are reasons why I think it shouldn't be arrested. We don't think that's going to happen because the company's in bankruptcy and, you know, liquidation, all the rest of that stuff. I don't know much about that, but I know when that happened, the ships normally get arrested, and if they don't have the means to pay their debt, the people who got the ship arrested, then they don't get the ship back. The ship is sold, subsequently sold to the highest bidder, and all expenses are paid out from the proceeds of the sale of the ship. So we will watch this one and see how it pans out. We talked about another maritime matter, the sinking of the Tropic Breeze, 160-foot tanker by a 207-foot super yacht named Utopia 4. Happened about 10 p.m. on December 23rd. As I said last week, I think it was negligence on both sides because quite technically we don't have I didn't have any evidence where one ship contacted the other to tell them, hey, be careful, look like, you know, we can get into some trouble, or took action to avoid collision. And I don't have all the details. But based on what I see and what I have, that's my conclusion so far. Because if a ship is on a steady bearing and the ranges are closing, they on a collision path. So if none of them take any action, then they're going to touch each other or hit each other, one hit the next, or whatever the case may be. So the tanker had some cargo, and it's categorized as non-persistent. You know, it's lighter than water. So, you know, once it leaks out, it goes to the surface of the sea, and between the sun and the wind and all that, it just evaporates. So we don't have problems wondering if this stuff is going to get on our beach and all the rest of that stuff. So fortunately, during that incident, nobody died. There were no deaths. If there was a death, we would have been looking at a different monster in this equation. But there were no deaths. So, you know, we could just take it easy and do the investigation. And you could always replace things, but you can't replace people. My updated information on this matter is from a reliable source. Is that the Port Department is only part of the team conducting the formal investigation. There was also direct involvement from the Bahamas Maritime Authority and the U.S. Coast Guard. Got to breathe a sigh of relief. You know, it's not being spearheaded by just the Port Department, as the Ministry of Transportation release indicated sometimes 2 weeks ago. So we should look forward to report of the findings being made available sometime very soon. Guess what? The Utopia did have a VDR. You remember last week I mentioned that they should have a recorder which records everything like a black box? Well, they did have one installed on board. And, you know, currently that is being analyzed as part of the investigation. So we can rest assured that we're going to get down to some fine details as to what happened during that incident. And Tropic Breeze, being an aging, outdated single hull tanker, actually sank simply because, you know, it was a single hull. If it was a double hull tanker and the Utopia 4 penetrated the hull, it wouldn't have sank because it would have another layer to protect the ship from sinking. We have a third entry. When I was on the show last week, Tuesday, that same day, they found a boat floating off Florida coast. One person, because the boat was sank, but the bow was still out of water. One person hanging on to it. And this thing happened from Saturday night. They didn't find him until Tuesday morning, or Tuesday sometime. So I didn't have any information on that. But we understand now, based on the information in the press, that there were some 40 people on that boat, and only one so far is accounted for. So we could assume, unless, you know, something comes up out of the ordinary, that 39 lives were lost in that incident. And the boat apparently came from Bimini. And you know, the Friday before that Saturday, there was about 4 or 5 miles west of Bimini, a boat sank. And that boat had, I think, 30-something people. All of them survived because, you know, the rescue was right there and it was daylight and all the rest of that. But we have a situation in our country now where Bimini seemed to be a hot spot for smuggling people into the U.S. Based on those 2 evidential incidents, it seems clear to me that we have a situation on our hands. And we need to address it. You know, Bimini was known for running little squad groupers and things like that back in the day. But, you know, nobody used to be getting killed. When you're dealing with life, safety of life is extremely important. We don't want the Bahamas to be tied with that kind of thing. So, you know, we just hope that the people that are really getting involved in these type of things will think twice. And if they're going to persist in doing these things, you know, just try and make sure that you're doing it, but people's lives are not being lost. Use a strong vote. You know, let's get away from people losing their life in these times. So in a nutshell, those are our current maritime issues. We're talking maritime people. And tonight, we're talking mailboats. Our guest tonight is the ultimate mailboat guru. I refer to him as a guru because he was around forever and he knows everything about the mailboat industry. And that's bar none. I mean, we got other people who knows a lot, but this guy is tops. When it comes to mailboats, this brother has been to the mountaintop. He has seen the Buddha again and chewed on the beetle nut. So brace yourself for a highly informative and immensely provocative mailboat discussion. Maritime Matters, in my opinion, was the most popular person ever graced the Defense Force to this point. I'm sure we have a lot more because we got the 4 Marines, Frederick Stout, Edward Williams, that lost their lives in the same incident that Amos Roll was the commander in. But, you know, they are at another level. We're talking household maritime names. Amos Roll, captain of the HMBS Flamingo, when the Cuban MiG fighter jets sank her in 1980, May 10th. So always well respected by his peers and by his subordinates. Secondly, we have the first Bahamian native port controller in Mr. Leon Alexander Flowers. Oh, right. Oh, no, he's not Alexander. Mr. Leon Flowers, a leader in his own rights. He took command of the local boating community like none other. Mailboats, ferry boats, tugboats, marine pilots, shipping agents, lighthouses, cruise ships in and out of Nassau Harbor, tankers engaging the Clifton Pier area, and it goes on and on and on. Mr. Leon Flowers was the man, people. Household name, great maritime contributor, over 50 years working at the Port Department. The third maritime standout is the man that begins his own song, and you'll be hearing it playing all night long. The legendary Master Sailor of Family Island Regattas, His Excellency, Captain Raleigh Gray. So the Freddie and Penny and Babe and the people at Pink Pearl and Happy People and the Yacht Club down in Stanley Key, you know, the entire Stanley Key community, the entire Bahamas. We say, Raleigh Gray, your boat, feel it bailing out. That's what I'm talking about. Captain Raleigh Gray. Last and certainly the most famous of them all. All right, we're going to Raleigh Gray about tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be our theme song all night long. We're going to Raleigh Gray about tonight. I remember the time I went to Stanley Key. But, you know, when that song was a hit, it just came out, and the happy people had a dance. I didn't even know the song. Man, when those old people hear that song, you talking about the sculling and the this and kill, mash the roach, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But let me tell you something. Every time I hear that song again, I remember the happy people dance. So we go on, people. Last, and certainly not the least, in fact, the most famous of all maritime personnel in the Bahamas to date is our Olympic hero, the superstar, Derwin Randolph Knowles. Oh, I thought he was Alexander Knowles. Okay, so David Knowles was David Randolph Knowles. He was an Olympic gold medalist, world champion, and all the rest of it. He was a Marine pilot. Simply the best, the most popular maritime affiliated person we Bahamians will know for a long time. I speak from personal experience when I tell you that this giant of a man never settled for nothing but best performance. I don't know a thing about sailing a star-class boat competitively. I probably never will sail a star-class boat, but I tell you one thing. As his apprentice pilot, he poured into me the stellar ability to exercise precision timing, conning ships in and out of Nassau Harbor, and if I made a mistake at any time, he'll come down on me like thunder just to make me better. So, to Sir David, I always tip my hats, a man of all time. Sir David is indeed the superhuman, but many only dream about becoming. We're talking maritime, people. Welcome to Maritime Matters. So, here we go with our very first guest for Maritime Matters. And some of you may know him. Many of you may know him because he's another household name. I speak of none other than my good friend, a great man hailing from the great island of Mayagüana, a pioneer in his own right, a tenacious individual with great insight. I bring to you tonight my dog, the venerable captain and ship owner, Edins Taylor. Edins, welcome to the show, my friend. Welcome to Maritime Matters.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bain, for this moment and time, which is so vital to the Bahamas. I am happy to join you tonight.
Thank you, my friend. Now, first out of the gate, did you have any personal engagements with our four household names in Maritime? Amos Roll, Leon Flowers, Rolly Gray, and Sir David. Let's start with Amos. Did you know Amos Roll?
I knew him very well.
Okay, very good. Leon Flowers.
Personal friend.
Oh, you guys were close. Very good, very good. What did you think of Leon Flowers?
A hero in his own rights, and
he transcended the maritime. He made Porter's Key. I remember Porter's Key was in his daughter.
He made the port in Nassau, the Bahamas, better and more known than any other port controller that was there.
That's right. Very good. Thank you very much. And you should have known very well our great sailing champion, Sir Rolly Gray.
Well, he had a distinction way about him that you don't think he know, but once he get in the position, he'd do it better than anybody else.
Oh yeah, he was a stellar performer, And last but not least, Sir David.
Well, Sir David was a history controller.
Yes.
He was very shrewd in moving the cruise ship in and out of the harbor. I sit many days and watch the movement. Yeah. And whether it's rough or smooth, it doesn't make a difference. Sir David will bring it in and out.
Made it look easy, eh?
Very easy.
Yeah, he was quite a man when he really get on those ships. So, okay, let's get some insight, Captain Edins Taylor, on who you really are. Where were you born?
Mayagüana, Pirates-Well.
Pirates-Well, Mayagüana. And you grew up in Pirates-Well as well?
Oh, yeah.
But Mayagüana is a small little quaint settlement town. Everybody knows everybody. When you was growing up, you know everybody on the island, eh?
That's what makes it so good.
That's what I'm talking about. So, your parents were your siblings. Who were your parents? Who was your brothers and sisters?
In those days, we had plenty parents, brothers and sisters.
Plenty brothers, plenty sisters.
That's right. Everybody
so
was
you're
everybody.
From a big family, from a huge family.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How many were in your family?
11.
11. You were the oldest, the youngest, in between.
Fifth.
You was the fifth child. Oh man, that was awesome. And why did you choose to engage in maritime, Mr. Taylor?
Because we born on the water,
that's right,
right near the water, grew up in the water.
Wow.
And I read Mayagüana island is located, we had huge cruise ship pass there every day and night, all the time.
So Maguana was a pretty busy maritime area.
Very busy.
Okay, so you grew up in and out of the sea. You have a dive, and then
Oh yeah, we had to dive.
Yeah, you dive for fish and crawfish and
Fish.
okay, and you used to stand on the rock and choose which fish you want to catch.
Oh yeah, when you shoot the grouper, you hear them grunting like, hey.
I remember when I was on the Defense Force Edins, I was the captain of the Inagua. And we had two guys who always used to fish no matter where we anchor. Man, they catch sandfish if they have to, right? Andrew Hamilton, we used to call him Zero Dog. Boy, he was the one fish. When he come from patrol, he got these big bags, and he let nobody TV fish. Then we had a guy, Pratt was the coxswain. He was like the most senior waiting on board. And Mohegan, we used to call him Pratt. I remember time Pratt and Hamilton in the back there. I walk in the back. I used to go in the back and sometimes throw a ladder, but I ain't got no patience for fishing. I can drive the boat and do it. I wasn't really a fisherman. I still ain't into fishing like that. I take too much time.
The best relaxed fun you could have in this life is fishing.
Fishing and golf, they say. But fishing better than golf.
You catch the fish, and you play with it. You know when you're gonna have a good hook, when you hook a fish that you want to catch.
And you have a good tangle.
And you have a good tangle.
Okay, I've had some of that going on, but it just takes too long for that to happen.
Well, if it's big enough, you play with it.
Yeah,
Make sure you bring it home, you call it.
Yeah. But Mahagan was on Backley. Now, good man, he fishing, and he grabbed this big grunt. Grunt come up, grunt. Man, all I hear Mahagan say, you're grunting. I want to see how you're going to grunt when you hit that Western oil. I know, Mahagan, he was a good guy. Oh, God bless his soul. He was such a good, he was former police, and he was, responsible for training a lot of the young Defense Force Marines, because he was always a coxswain because of his seniority, but everybody got along so well with him,
Well, like you said, he was a good, and it's a number of those type of Bahamian seamen that was very good, but they passed on and they didn't leave enough knowledge for the young people to get very interested in taking that role.
Yes. We'll never stop having that happening. We will continue on as best we could with the youth, but sometimes they got to show enough interest because we got a lot to pass on to them. So, Captain Edins, what was your first maritime job?
My first maritime job was with my father, making sure I get his boat in the cold water in the morning, bring it to shore, get it ready.
You had to swim out for the boat?
Well, you had to swim because the boat was into no dock.
Okay, so your father was a sailor too, or he?
Oh yeah, he was a sailor.
Okay, so you had to go get the boat. The boat had to go fishing, or?
That's right.
Okay.
Start with fishing.
Oh, he started fishing before you got in the mailboat work.
That's right.
Okay, very good. I didn't know that now. See, that's why we got to talk. So, how would you like to see, how would you briefly describe your maritime experiences? It's been a long time for you. What age were you when you first got involved in maritime?
Well, like I said, I was in it from
child.
Yeah.
Or when you started to get your job at a boat or something, something where you was actually working to make money in maritime.
Well, money in maritime was not the issue when we first went into the boat.
Okay.
We wanted to make sure we had a business with the boat,
right,
because you had to develop it.
Okay.
And coming from Iguana, it was not easy.
So you all had a mailboat when you were young, or you got a
No.
mailboat later on? When did you all get your first mailboat?
In the 66,
66. What was the name of that one?
the Cape Hathors.
The Cape Hathors.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And she went to Maguana, from Nassau to Maguana, or she did other routes?
Oh, she did a lot of runs. Abaco, Cat Island, Ilustra, Exuma.
Okay. So were you able to navigate back then, or you learned eventually to navigate?
Well, I learned eventually.
Okay. So you navigated all those waters.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not just a ship owner. I want people to understand that we're talking with somebody who came up through the trenches in maritime.
I came up through the trench.
Through the trench, you had the big. I remember this the other day. Was it about 2-3 weeks ago? I came out to talk to you, and I see you going on which one of those, because that's the captain, the president, which one you went on?
President Taylor.
And I see you actually move her from one area of Prince George and Portskeet Dock to the next area of Portskeet Dock. You did that just to prove to me that I voted.
Of course.
Well, I must say, Captain Edins, you did a good job, and I don't know if I could have done a better job myself, but I was watching you and I observed, and I can see that you were a very good ship handler. Who was your mentor?
My mentor is my father and Harold Black.
Harold Black, who's that?
He was my mother's brother's son.
Okay, so you worked with him at some stage?
No, I was too.
But you admired him?
Oh yeah, because of what the history he left.
Okay, he left a good legacy.
He left the legacy of my father, who taught me, and Harold Black, who was his son.
Okay. That's very good. So, can you say anybody that you think you mentored?
My father.
No, that you mentored, that you actually mentored, that see you as their mentor in the maritime field. People that work around you.
I have numbers of them, but I only can name maybe 2 or 3.
Okay.
You got Gifford Johnson.
Yes.
Who is one of our senior captain in the Bahamas.
That's my neighbor.
Well, he's very knowledgeable.
He lives very close to me, and he and I see each other from time to time. But yes, who are the others?
Elvin Taylor, who's the second senior pilot in the Bahamas, who bring cruise ship in and out.
That's right. That's your little brother.
Oh yeah. Well, he's the big brother now. He's doing a good job.
Elvin is a really, really good guy, man. I remember Elvin when I first went to the port. I wasn't working. I was still on the Defense Force, and I was interested in piloting. And I was introduced to Elvin. My father-in-law, Reddy Swan. You know, he was one of the stevedores. He knew everybody on the dock. So he took me. He introduced me to Elvin. He said, Elvin, you know, this is my son-in-law. He want to learn how you always be dealing with these tugboats, because Elvin was the captain of the snapper. And I went out there Saturday in, Saturday out. And Elvin would take me on the bridge with him, and he would let me do everything on that bridge with him, just for me to get that exposure. You know, people like Elvin, I could never thank enough. You know, so you have Elvin Taylor, your little brother. You mentored him, and got him into this, and now he also is a ship owner of the highest caliber. I mean, he owns ships that go in and out of the States, and to Freeport, and to Family Islands, and you know, it's amazing what can happen when you actually let out and help somebody, or they say, put a hand down and help pull somebody through the ropes, what they can do at the end of the day. So do you have a most memorable maritime moment when you'll never forget? A moment in maritime that you experienced and you will never forget?
Yeah, on the trip from Nassau to Marijuana, we just about 35 miles northwest of Crooked Island.
Right.
It's very rough. Northwest. You hear about a northwester?
Yeah,
very rough.
was coming through. Oh, yeah.
And we saw a boat on the horizon drifting. We thought it was moving for a while but the closer we go to it, it was drifting. And we realized that the boat was in distress.
Right.
But it was so rough, when we get near the boat, we couldn't turn around to face the sea to go back to the boat.
Okay.
So we had to just slow up, and because of the wind, the boat was moving faster than how much we slowed up the boat to move.
Okay.
When we got there, close enough to the boat, the 2 people who was on the boat at that time, they couldn't speak English.
Okay, they were foreigners.
So we had a gentleman with us who was one of our senior crewmen, by the name of Freddie Charlton.
Okay.
He was a determined seaman, and he decided that he would swim across to the boat to see what really happened to the boat. And he took the heaving line from
Your boat.
my boat to that boat hook it in two.
Right. And you all rescued them.
And we rescued them by picking some English from them where they said they had some 30-odd people set on Samanaki.
Wow.
The name is Samanaki or Atwaski.
Yeah, I remember Samanaki.
And
Just off, right.
just off Crooked Island
Right.
or Auckland, whatever. And we went there to discover they had a lot of ammunition to go to Cuba to overthrow Castro.
Wow.
So my father determined that the best solution to do at that time was to go to Maguana
Right. Right.
and report, because at those days you had no communication like we have now, no cell phone.
Right. So you had to go to land to make a...
So we went to Maguana, we reported, and Nassau, the police fly into Maguana, and we took them back to Atwaski.
Right.
And it was unbelievable. We took 9 boatload of guns and ammunition aboard the lady, the Marcella 1. The boat name is Marcella.
You made 9 trips?
With the small dinghy boat.
Oh, okay, to get it, okay,
From shore.
From shore to the boat. Wow.
That was my first.
That's a terrorist encounter.
That was the first one.
Wow, man, that is memorable. So at this time, we need to open the lines. Let people in. I'm sure I got plenty of questions here for you. So if nobody called, we can go on till next week, man. So let's give them an opportunity to call in. The numbers to call 326-8255. That's 242 if you're calling from outside the Bahamas. 326-8255. If you want to contribute any contribution to this discussion on Maritime Matters, please feel free to call. The lines are now open. And I see we got a call on line 1. Maritime Matters, good evening. Good evening, good night. Maritime Matters, go ahead, please.
Yes, good evening, Captain Brian, and good evening to your guests, the illustrious Edins Taylor. Captain Taylor, how are you, sir?
Very well, Mr. Bain. Very well.
Indeed, indeed. Captain Taylor, firstly, I just would like to echo some of the sentiments that Captain Bain already would have made with regards to your contribution to the maritime industry. I think that you are a giant in the field, and I think that whatever everything that you have done is noteworthy. And so congratulations on the job you've done and how you would have your contribution in advancing the industry as a whole. And I have a question, Captain Taylor. I actually have 2. One for yourself and possibly one for Captain Bain to chime in on the second on that second one. The question I have, Captain Taylor, is do you think that there's room within the domestic maritime industry for new and upcoming potential entrepreneurs? And based on where you sit, do you think that this would be viable in terms of them carving out a living for themselves, or is it based on the limited islands? Are we saturated? What are your thoughts?
Brother Ben, that's a good question. The Bahamas is very large when it comes to maritime affairs by moving island to island, saying that Nassau is the capital, and I don't think that's going to change in any soon. It can change right away.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, you have plenty room for young entrepreneurs to come into the business, learn it, and capture what is left for them.
And take it to another level.
That's
right.
Because my family was the second in the mailboat business to bring a brand new boat into this country.
Wow.
In
What was
the
the name of
early
that one?
Marcella 1.
Oh, that was brand new. When you
Brand new. Built it in St. Augustine.
Okay, right.
And before the Marcella 1, the boat that used to run to Maguana and Aucklands and Crooked Island used to take 3 to 4 days to do the trip.
Wow.
Marcella 1 take 24 hours. With me being the first captain on that boat, and that's where I learned to navigate properly without a radar or a GPS.
Right. Eyeball navigation.
Eyeball and a compass.
That's right.
Eyeball and a compass. You know the water, you know the movement of the current, and the weather, and the seas, and you just pop it loose.
That's it. Very good. Wow. Yes, Captain Brain. Do you have a second question for myself or Captain Taylor?
Thank you very much, Captain Taylor. Can we chime in on this as well? Because this is something that piggybacks on that first question I would have asked. And basically, do you think that it's time for the government to review the current mailboat situation, that service arrangement, given the fact that, back in the day, the mailboat, you sprayed the mailbag, and Captain, you could tell me what this entails if you wish. Given the fact that NIB services are now, everything is direct deposits, old age pension, and all the advancement in technology, persons on the island, when if they want funds, right now, they go with in most islands, they have those number houses that they go to get their funds and the like. Should we review the whole, how we have this whole system of mailboat service and the mail buy in order to spur the kind of interest by new entrepreneurs, given the fact that every island already has a dedicated service, or most islands have a dedicated service or boats that service those islands. And should we just allow market forces to drive the supply of goods and maybe the influx of new vessels to join the fleet and to compete for those businesses?
Well,
I'll answer the question for what you. The real product is not the boat and the service that you're talking about. Many years ago, the government at that day decided that they will not give mailboat contract to an individual who's not from that area. The reason for that is, in the Southeast Bahamas in particular, from Cat Island, Exuma, Long Island, Crooked Island, Athens, Maguana, they always need somebody on those boats who is going to protect the goods for the person who lives there and farm and fishing, so they can sell it or see that the family pick it up to sell for them, so they can buy whatever they need to go to took on the boat back to that island. It's not only the mail bag or whatever involved, it's the service that individual from that island give the people to people.
That's correct. And let me chime in a bit, Captain Bain. That's a very good question. But we got to understand that it's like Bahamas Air going to those islands. The Bahamas Air doesn't make a profit. So if the government don't subsidize a vessel to go in those areas, no vessel probably would be able to go in those areas and make a profit. You don't own a ship just to say, I have a boat. You own a ship to make profits, and there's a lot of work. And if you own a ship, you're paying for fuel, you're paying your crew's salary, you're paying to dry dock that ship, you're paying for insurance, and when you don't pay for all those things, if that trip can't pay for your fuel and the government don't subsidize you, how would you wouldn't be able to go back a second time. So to keep those islands facilitated with a boat that can bring the amount of cargo that they need and to bring their goods to Nassau that they need to sell, it has to be subsidized. and the government is the only entity that can subsidize it. So the mail bag is not just a bag with the mail in it. Of course it's a bag with mail in it, but the mail bag or the money you get paid for the mail bag is to subsidize and throw off some of that cost that you wouldn't be able to accumulate otherwise.
Yes, and that's the essence of my point, right? So when I look at, for example, if I came into some money and I decided to buy a boat, I'm not going to buy a boat to look out for subsidy. I want to go to Rhode Island. I want to do domestic cargo. How do I then make my business viable? If Rhode Island, I can't reach Rhode Island and offer a service at a particular rate and be as efficient as possible and compete for some of the business associated with these islands as they grow and as they develop. How do I do that?
Mr. Ben, you will never find today no carrier will try to run a freight service into San Salvador, Cat Island, Crooked Island, Aucklands, and Maguana, because it's no business there to do that. You notice?
Thank you very much, Captain Taylor. Again, you offered some insightful information relative to my questions, and thank you, Captain Bain. And again, congratulations to both of you. Excellent show. Continue the good work.
Thank you, brother.
We thank you, Captain Brain, for calling in and giving, staging such good questions for us to address. Okay, so we go on. Those of you just joining us, this is Maritime Matters. Captain Glenn Bain, along with Captain Edins Taylor as my guest, a mailboat patriot. The numbers to call in if you want to call the show, 326-8255. That's 326-8255. The lines are constantly open, so if you want to call in now, this may be a chance, because if the lines get flooded, you might have to wait a while. So we are now speaking with Captain Edins Taylor about mailboating. Captain Taylor, how many mailboats do you currently command? I want to say own, but I'll just say command.
I command a mailboat to the northern Bahamas,
What's the name
the
of that?
central Bahamas, and the southeast Bahamas.
Okay. What's the name of those? What are the names of the boats that you own?
I own the Lady Rosalind,
Lady Rosalind,
the Lady Matilda,
Taylor,
the President Taylor,
President Taylor,
the Transcargo.
Transcargo.
I can't remember the next couple, eh?
I know you have covered.
We have another Cape Hatteras is coming in the scene, and the reason for that is the first should be the last. And that is, I think that is the last one I'm going to be involved in dealing with.
So that's the last vessel. You watch this one, you watch them renovate this vessel. Because I know there were times when I was in Louisiana, down in Houma. And what's the name of the gentleman that builds a lot of the mailboats, Mr. Russell?
Russell Podia,
Podia.
one of the best human being that ever created this earth.
Yeah.
Russell Podia. He built 18 boats for the Bahamas.
Wow. All mailboats.
No, he set up the Spanish Well fleet. He built 9 boats in Spanish Well.
The fishing fleet?
Fishing fleet.
Wow.
The best boat that has ever come in the Bahamas to fishing in Spanish Well, Russell Poitier built that.
Okay.
And he builds a number of other boats in the Bahamas, plus he built, I think it was 9 or 10 mailboats. The Lady Matilda, Lady Francis, Daybreak, Captain Moxie, Cherise M, just number them.
Wow. Yeah, I know about all the mailboats because as they launch, I went over there for the launching of the Captain C.
And by the way, you know, who initiated that new mailboat fleets at that time, 30 plus years ago, was the then Minister Philip Bethel.
Philip Bethel, he assisted?
Was the one who assisted the mailboat owners through Development Bank to lend the money to build those boats.
To get bigger and better vessels.
Now, we beyond that.
Right.
Maguana has roll-on, roll-off mailboat, container mailboat. Why Andrew still having a crane to lift the pallet on the dock, and pass a box off by hand.
Well, let's talk about the transitioning of mailboats.
We already, my company already transitioned mailboat to another level long time ago.
Right, but we talk about transition of mailboat from back in the day when mailboats were sailboats.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit of, you said at one point all mailboats in the Bahamas were sailing boats?
Of course.
No engines?
You have no engine. Where could you get the engine from? You couldn't afford it.
But were you around in those days?
No, sir. No, sir.
But you heard about them?
I would never run a sailboat.
Well, if you had no engine, I guess you would have to, if you want to be on a boat. I've never really been on a sailboat. I have friends who love to sail, and you know, regardless of a lot of sailors. But I don't know. It seemed like a lot of work to be on a sailboat and a lot of time. How long do you think it would take for a sailboat in those days, a mailboat, to get from Nassau to Maguana?
My father told me it used to take 2 and 3 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
That's right.
To get from Nassau to Maguana?
Some days they have plenty wind.
Wow.
Some days they have no wind. And some days they have the wind coming from the opposite direction.
So some trips may take 5 days to get there, others could take
Never
2
5 days.
At least a week.
At least a week.
Wow.
And that is going on the good wind.
Okay. And when did engines start to creep into this?
I had an uncle who were in the mailboat business by the name of Louis Williamson.
Right.
Where
was he from?
He was from Auckland.
Auckland.
But
He came from South Islands?
he fell in love with my aunt and went to Maguana, and
Okay.
he married my aunt.
Right. So that's how you get to know him then.
Well, I was before my time.
Okay. Right. You didn't know him personally, yeah.
But
Mhm.
he was the first mailboat in the Southeast Bahamas,
Mhm.
first owner of the mailboat in Southeast Bahamas to have an engine in that boat.
Wow. That's amazing. You got a call on the line. Let's see what our caller's saying, Brother Edins. Caller, welcome to Maritime Matters. Hello.
Good evening. How are you?
Oh, we're in good shape. We're having a lot of fun. We're having ourselves some fun talking about mailboat from back in the day. I'm being lectured by my good guest here, Captain Edins Taylor. And how are you, my dear?
I'm well, thanks. Good evening to you guys.
Good afternoon.
I wanted to find out if it's different now versus back then. Did you guys do celestial navigation? I know there's GPSs and all these things now, but like if you only had sailboats back then, what kind of instruments did you use for navigation?
Just a compass. Was no
Oh,
was no solicited navigation equipment at that time.
And you couldn't take direct routes because you got to sail based on where the wind was, eh?
That's right.
So you had to be tacking to sometimes we tack back and forth and only move half a mile
That's right.
after hour. Yeah, so yes, caller, it was very difficult in those days. They had no GPS, they had no radar. All they had is a compass and the chart, and they could do the dead reckoning, but again, they couldn't take fixed routes.
Yeah, no depth finder.
No depth finder, so they have to look at the water and be able to tell when they're in the ocean, when they're on the banks, when they're in shallow water. So that's the way they navigated. You know, we're so blessed today to have GPS and radars and Edins and all those good things. Yeah, any expansion on the question?
yeah, just, I guess if that was the case, then you'd have to come up through the ranks before you were a captain, because you'd have to really be on the waters and know your way around. How long would it take before you were a captain, for instance?
Well, it depends on what route you were going on. If you were going from here to Illustra, you can be a captain in a short time because the area is not, the distance is not long,
You can always see land.
and you can always see the land and you can watch the water. You can take it by the day and the night, and you be in Illustra. But when you're talking about going in the other part of the Bahamas, you have to learn it for much longer time to be a captain.
Need more
Okay,
experience.
well, thank you very much for that
Well,
answer.
thank you very much for your call, caller. And you take care of yourself, Alicia. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are live on Maritime Matters with Captain Glenn Bain as host amazing and very educational, informative Captain Edins Taylor. Okay, we were talking, Captain Taylor, about the days when there were only sailboats in the fleet, and then the first engine or the first ship with an engine came around. You say you were told that, what was the name of that vessel with the engine in it?
Maguana Queen.
Oh, it was Maguana boat. Maguana had the first boat with a
Maguana had the first boat, believe it or not.
Wow. It was a single engine or double?
Single engine, 671.
Okay, so how long did it take them after that to get from Nassau to Maguana?
5 days.
Oh, 5 days. So the engine wasn't that fast.
No, but it
was an engine.
Yes.
You didn't have to worry about the wind anymore.
No, sir.
Okay, so I see we got another caller on the line. Let me just see what this caller is saying, Captain Taylor. 1 second now. Caller, you're live on Maritime Matters. Caller, you're live on Maritime Matters. Hello. Okay, we lost that caller. Okay, so we were saying that it took about 5 days for the single engine vessel. Well, how big was that vessel? Like,
that vessel was about 65, 70 feet.
That was huge, because back in those days that would have been a big ship.
And believe it or not, he built it in Maguana.
Oh, the ship was built in the Bahamas?
In Pirates Maguana.
Okay, so you kind of, when you was around when it was built?
Oh, yeah, I watched it built.
Oh, you watched it built?
I have to launch it.
And where did he get the engine?
In Nassau. He had to sail the boat to Nassau.
Oh, after the boat was built, he sailed to Nassau and installed the engine in Nassau.
That's right.
Wow. Well, he must have been a very, very skillful person.
Well,
Built a boat.
He was.
Okay. Do you remember what type of engine that was?
A 671 GM.
Oh, that was big time.
The most famous engine that's still sold today.
That's right, 671 GMs.
That's right.
Okay. So, after that time, was there another, it moved from single engine, and I assume you had a couple single engines. Because I remember when I was a little boy going to...
He didn't have a couple. After that, he bought a boat from some owner in Abaco, some foreign owner, by the name of that was one of the best mail boats in those days.
That was around the same size, or was it
No,
bigger?
much bigger.
Oh, it's much bigger.
120 feet.
Was it a twin screw or single screw?
Twin screw.
Oh,
Friesel. Boat named the Friesel.
The Friesel. So how long would it take that one to get from Nassau to Maguana?
Oh, that was about 32 hours.
Wow.
Well, she was good and fast.
Okay. So you leave Nassau 12 o'clock today.
And
by tomorrow morning you
didn't make one.
Okay. So about what year was that? About what time when they started to have that kind of speed in mailboats?
That was about in the
late 60s.
Yeah, early 60s.
Early 60s.
62, 64, somewhere around there.
Because I remember when I was a little boy, my mom used to send us to Andros on the mailboat. We used to go with my auntie, because she was living in Deep Creek, South Andros. And we used to go on this boat called the Captain Johnson.
Oh, yeah, I know that boat.
And Captain Johnson used to take, a day and a half, because they got a single engine.
Yeah.
And I don't think the engine used to be running at its peak. So I remember one night we left the dock, going to South Andros, and we got there, not the following morning, the morning after that. And we left Captain Moxie, which was scheduled to leave the next day. And when we reached Drexel, Moxie put up. We met him there. Because he had two engines and we had one.
Yeah.
Well, that was the last time I think we got a Captain Johnson.
But Moxie was a good captain, so that's the difference.
Yeah, but the boat had twin screw.
No, but he was a good captain. He knows the
Well,
rules.
all of them, I'm sure all of them were good captains.
Yeah.
So in your recollection, who were, okay, we have a caller on the line. I want to ask you who you think were really great captains back in those days.
Yes.
So let's see what the caller says. Caller, you're live. Good evening. Maritime Matters.
Yes, I am calling on I must say, I'm calling on behalf of your callers all over the world listening. And this question comes from the United Kingdom, right?
Really? That far? Oh, that's interesting.
Really, the question, and the individual couldn't get through, so I'm asked to advance this question, and the question really and truly deals with given and if both you or Captain Taylor can respond, given the level of potential pollution that is associated with these larger vessels that are now coming into the Nassau Harbor and going to the islands and the Keys, and given this very unique situation in terms of we rely on keeping the Bahamas clean, green, and pristine for our visitors. How much of a big deal this would be? This is basically in contributing to environmental degradation. Can you just speak to that? Because there's a lot. The maritime industry is expanding, and we look at Nassau Harbor and the amount of ships that they now can accommodate, the amount of garbage that emanates from these ships. How much of a big deal is this, and what are your thoughts?
Let me just ask you, Carl, are you talking about large ships like cruise ships, or are you talking about yachts? I mean, what
I'm talking about both cruise ships, yachts. You earlier in the show you would have mentioned the cruise line that had initially started a local voyage around the Bahamas that was arrested. But now also doing the expansion in Nassau Harbor, I'm talking about large yachts, I'm talking about cruise ships, and verbally the amount of pollutant that these ships actually would give off, given this being a very sensitive ecosystem here in the Bahamas.
Okay, what I'll do, Captain Brain, is I'll answer your question in a minute. We have another caller on the line. Let me just see what this caller is asking, because it may be related to your question, and I don't want to hold on forever. So just one minute and I'll get back to your question. Caller, you're live on Maritime Matters. Hello?
Yes, good evening.
I'm in top shape, sir.
I had a question in regards to mailboats. What I wanted to know, two-part question. What exactly makes a mailboat, and if so, if passengers are allowed to ride on it, how many, the capacity?
Okay, you want to answer that?
No.
Oh, Captain Taylor will respond to that. Thank you. Let's make a mailboat a mailboat.
Mailboat is a particular vessel that was structured for that type of service. When I say that type of service, you have to have the facility for passenger, the rooms, the quarters, the bed, the kitchen, the utensil, fast, the plate, the toilet, everything got to be in position for the passenger. And then you have to be fitted to carry freight for that particular island that the boat is going to. That's why you have different boats going to different islands.
So caller, thank you very much for your question. We got two more callers on the line. Feel free to call back at any time, sir. Thank you. Caller, you're on Maritime Matters. Hello, good evening.
Yes, I just was debating on you, Captain Bain, if you would be so kind to respond to that point that originates out of the UK, relative to pollution and the whole how the maritime industry contributes to it, given the scope and growth of the industry currently.
Okay, Captain Bain, I'll be right back with you. We got another caller holding, and then I'll answer your question.
I will hang up and I'll
Listening. Okay. Appreciate that very much, sir. Caller, you're live on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Good evening, Captain Bain.
Good evening, honey.
I'm Captain Taylor. Welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to comment on Captain Green's question. The International Maritime Organization created a roadmap that would reduce greenhouse gases emissions by 2023. Unfortunately, we privatized our flag and outsourced it to the international community, and they decided that the greenhouse gas emissions should be put off until 2050. So instead of Caribbean, like the Marshall Islands, where we seek to eliminate all greenhouse gases and pollution by 2023, they moved it to reduce it by 50% from the 2008 levels to 2050, which I don't think any of us will be alive at that time. But the point is that the Bahamas is moving towards a blue economy where we're trying to benefit from our maritime presence, the blessings that we've had from having so much ocean. And at this moment, we are polluting it drastically due to the fact that these vessels are flag Bahamas, which means we're obligated to take them. And while they're at anchor, they have no way of disposing of their waste. And so, they continuously dumping whether treated or untreated waste into the ocean, which is damaging the coral reef, which is also killing the mangroves, which is the incubation for all the fish that go south.
We have to get a badge to do that.
I believe that
Capture the
we
waste
need
from all that
to
solution.
pay attention to this because we have individuals in this country who are seeking to invest in the carbon credits and create this $375 million a year buyback for our country. And we can't ever do that if we continue to pollute our water.
I agree with you.
That's my comment.
Thank you very much for that comment. And that's a good response, for particularly when it comes to air pollution and greenhouse gases emission and all the rest of that good stuff. So, yes, thank you very much, Paul. I'll continue on that trend in answering that question. So, Captain Bain, the answer to your question is we have air pollution, but you primarily asked about sewage and waste from ships. As far as ships coming into the Bahamas and out of Bahamas, as we all know, or as we know, the Bahamas is one of the what they call very special sea areas, and for that it's a special sea area simply because of our coral reefs and our beautiful waters and all the rest of that. So worldwide, we have been designated a special sea area. Now, most of those big ships, like the cruise ships, they have what you call sewage treatment plants. The sewage goes into a treatment plant on board, and it is treated and it is dealt with on board the ship. Cargo ships that come into Clifton Pier and goes in and out of Freeport, most of them have what you call slush tanks or waste oil tanks, and they also have void ballast tanks or void spaces, other spaces they can use to send the sewage from the ship. So most of those ships, under the MAPO Convention, they would already have a design so that they can keep all of their sewage on board until they reach to a disposal site ashore. But I think the ones we really got to be more concerned about, and you know just as well as I do, when we were on the Defense Force, we had no way of treating waste from the ship. We would actually put our stuff straight in the water. It's the same thing with the fishing fleet in the Bahamas, and it's the same thing with the mailboat fleet in the Bahamas. So we gotta really get into legislation if we want to make these ships have holding tanks where you can actually keep all of the sewage on board and dispose of them when they reach ashore. A truck got to come, a pumping truck, because we got a lot of pumping trucks. So that's what we got to do. Okay, Edins, now how do you see that with mailboats? I don't think no mailboat is fitted with sewage treatment plant, or I don't see any sewage trucks going to the dock to pump out any tanks for mailboat sewage. When it flushed it out on a mailboat, where it goes?
Goes in a holding tank.
On your boats or
On
all
the
the
holding tank.
On all the boats?
I can't say all the boats, but I would believe it's all the boats.
Okay, so they go in the holding tank on the ship. When do you discharge the holding tank?
It discharged when the boat get out in the ocean.
Oh, so they can keep it on board, and the engineer would pump it up when it get well offshore.
That's right.
Okay, and then that's the way it's basically been going from.
Well, that's a BMA standard.
Yeah, that's the way it's been going from time immemorial.
When most of those boats were structured, that was the purpose of having a holding tank.
Right, and is there any regulation stating that, because I'm not aware of any local regulation saying that a vessel, a mailboat, or a boat for hire must have a holding tank on board.
Well,
I know that's how Russell and build them, and that's very good.
that's the way they build them.
Suppose-
I
suppose
don't know about
system
any
fails.
regulation that has that.
Yeah, okay. Well, we can talk about that one forever and forever and forever, and amen. So
Yeah.
we talk about the second, the boat that had the twin engines. The
Yeah.
mailboat that had the twin engines. I remember I have a friend named Willie Ferguson. His daddy used to do one to Inagua, Mr. Ferguson. I saw him in Inagua once or twice when I was on the Defense Force on their mailboat. And his brother Lionel also used to wait on
Oh, you're talking about Nevis Ferguson?
I don't know his name, but I know his sons.
Yeah.
They grew up together in Roll Avenue.
Believe it or not, that's my uncle. He married my aunt.
Oh, that's the one you was talking about?
That's right. No, it was somebody else.
Oh, that's somebody else.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Oh, so
Clifford was my first cousin.
Excellent.
That's my old aunt's son.
Okay. So, and then I have a friend named Sammy Archer. You know his brother, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Their daddy was a captain too.
Very good captain.
Yeah?
Very
What was the name of that boat?
Meet the Queen.
Maida Crane.
Or the Double K.
The Debricate boat?
Yes.
The Sammy them boat? Oh, well, them Sammy them, they Sammy scared about it.
No,
I thought it was-
Archer has a large family of seamen.
Of seamen, okay.
So,
Very good.
one of the best
Mhm.
boat owner and operator in the Bahamas, used to be in the Bahamas,
Mhm.
in the early 60s, was the Archer. Uncle Shogun Archer.
Right.
And he trained Garnet Archer
Mhm.
and they had a couple nephews,
Okay, that ran the boat as well.
Donnie Moss
Okay.
and a couple more.
Yeah, because
And
mailboating.
Abaco was operated strictly by Abaconians.
Oh,
It was not like it is today.
well, it's still operated by Abaconians.
Now, the fast ferry is there. There's no car.
But I mean, they
No Archer.
are operating ferry runs from
The
Nassau to
only,
Abaco.
the only operator from Nassau to Abaco today
Right.
that is in the large scale
Mhm.
is the Dane, Ernest Dane, and Michael Battle.
Right. They're the two main boats that service Abaco, right?
Right.
So they're still basically doing their thing as far as service in Abaco is concerned.
No, but the fast ferry is right there taking up all the slack and the slack.
But I mean, the fast ferry goes from Nassau to carry freight from Nassau to Abaco.
Right?
Okay.
Big time.
And but fast ferries are in the business. They're not subsidized by the government. I don't think
Well,
they
they are
get the
subsidized
subsidy
by the
with
government.
with the mailboat.
They are
With the mail
subsidized.
bag.
Yes,
They get
they
the mail
go.
bag.
They go to Lustra, they go to Exuma.
Or they get the mail bag going to Lutra?
And Exuma.
Okay. So I'm not talking about the Abaco trip.
They would have been in Abaco too if it wasn't for the Dana and the Bubba.
Okay, great. Yeah, but that mail bag and the mail boats, I think is a good thing. We need to keep that going because I mean these foul islands in particular, they would not really see a mail boat for a long time if
They
it's
wouldn't
not
see
it's not
food
subsidized.
for a long time.
Yeah, because then you need that subsidy.
You
Because
have to get a subsidy to
that's
go.
a long run. That's a lot of fuel. That's a lot of cost, and maintenance of a ship is not cheap.
Sure.
You see, I used to do ship management, so I know all about the maintenance of ships. But yeah, we back in the day, a captain, Mr. Taylor, a captain bringing his ship to another island. The captain used to be neat, his shirt tucked away in his pants. When he speaks, people listen.
Because the people were different.
The people were different, or the captains were different.
People were different.
But
And
I'm
the captain were,
because
the captain was different, of
The
course.
standards don't seem
The
to be like they used to
captain
be.
was different, of course. Because the majority of captains, or all the captains at that time, were Bahamian. You now have an influx of foreign captains.
Going to the family islands
Oh, yeah.
on mailboats.
Oh, come on. Of course.
No, I don't know of any mailboat that goes to a family island with a foreign captain.
Okay, well, you need to do some more research.
No, that's fine. I mean, you're on the dock every day.
Well,
In fact,
I
think,
don't want to be the one to tell you all
in
this.
fact, I
You just,
think that a person like you, who's been on that dock now for all those years, you need to consider naming that dock after you.
I would think,
That
I
Porter's
don't-
Key.
that-
Porter's Key. What is Porter's Key? Was that an actual key that they named?
I think that was the key, but unfortunately, believe it or not, the first mailboat was docked at Portisky
Mm-hmm.
was the F Pheasant,
I remember there was three of me. The F Pheasant,
S Swift,
S Swift.
and another one.
But they were supposed to be, they were twin screws and they were fast, eh?
But guess what happened?
Mm-hmm.
The third boat was there was the Cape Hatteras.
Oh, that's, yeah, you said the Cape Hatteras.
And I think that dog should name after Nathaniel Bruce Taylor.
You think it should name after Nathaniel Bruce Taylor? Because he was the owner and captain of the Cape Hatteras?
That's right.
Okay, and that's the boat that went to Abaco or that went to Mayaguana?
Mayaguana.
Oh, that's the first twin screw you talked about.
No, the first single crew.
Or the first single screw?
Or the second single screw.
Okay.
First was the Mayaguana Queen, then the Cape Hatteras.
So captains, we got a call on the line. Let me just I want to ask you about captains in those days. Who do you think really stand out?
Right.
That we need to really recognize. Oh, sorry about that caller hang up. We'll have to get back to our line. When the caller calls back. But I mean, as far as standout captains, we talk about Raleigh Gray. And I know Captain Damon Black. I know him very well. I know Nigel Davis.
Well,
These are the last of the Mohicans, eh?
They come in late factions. The real name were Harold Black, Nathaniel Taylor, Anthony Charlton, Wally Gray, Captain Moxie,
Right.
Hezron Moxie.
Yeah. They were the ones that people respected whenever they saw them.
Oh, yeah.
Because they carried themselves in a way that you know that is their a captain.
That's right.
They never look shabby. They always dress neat. They always have their crew do whatever they say because they respect them. And they always knew what
In those days, the captain of the boat. When he come to his ship is loaded, ready to go.
We got a call on the line. This is Maritime Matters. Thank you, caller. How are you, sir? Yes, my brother. Victor Locker. Marcus Moxie. What was the name of their ships? Bahama. Yeah, in those days, the captains used to run their engine room as well, eh? No? Very good. Well, thank you for that information, Captain Taylor. Victor Lockhart. You remember that?
Oh yeah, he was one of the heroes.
He was one of the heroes. And Marcus Moxie.
Marcus Moxie was a hero too.
So there were a lot of really good captains back in those
Well,
days.
there were his number of good captains.
Right.
Captain Wilson
Okay.
was a good captain. Captain Taylor was a good captain for Long Island.
Alfonso Bo.
Serious good captain.
Very good captain.
And what his mate was? What his name is his mate? He's still living. He's good captain. And Alfonso Marie too. Okay.
Murray. Yeah. Murray's a good name. I have Alfonso Murray.
They were
defense force with me.
Okay. And also Winfield Carteret. Good mate. All right. So you're right.
So Corley, absolutely right. But we got to go.
Oh, Willie Knowles was one of the best. Willie Knowles was one of the best. You know what he would say? Don't load this vessel one-sided.
What happened, my friend? Yeah, but how about my friend Jed Monroe? Jed is one of the best captains.
Oh yeah, he was good, but he come after these guys.
Yeah, but we still got to talk to some of our fellas who's still in the business. Yeah, baby. Oh, okay. I hear you, caller. you know, we have very few captains around who can still navigate without instruments. As a matter of fact, very few ships around that do not have those instruments.
If the man goes to Florida now, they pay for the freight online. And they come on, then the man will be responsible for taking the freight online. Ask Captain Dale about that. Who's responsible for taking the freight online? You have to pay the boat and then pay the main truck in Long Island. And it's...
No, well, it was organized
Based on the contracting.
based on the contract many years ago that the mailboat was supposed to deliver the freight to certain areas in that family island.
Okay, caller, we got one more call on the line and the show's about to end, so...
Hello.
Hello, caller, you're on Maritime Live. Maritime
I
Matters.
took some money coming on the first phone call. I should have turned the position up while you answered me. But listen, those guys who talk about, well, I'm on this mobile. You have some chuckles and they want to walk in and knock us in jail. Jail the old man. Stop it.
That's right.
One captain. Here, I bet you, the liners or William could take a full boat and round the size of the racing boats and go down the Edins and come back here. Where we are some of the best captains. What we can tell me say, nobody is in line place, the first one, old police force, other than Maryland captain. 4 captains from Maryland, Manders based to begin with. Here's your next thing, Sir Manuel, Eddie Manuel, who is the godfather of the defense force. And what's the work on? You know,
Yes, sir.
First, you are so offbeat. You need to set a search. You see, when you talk about maritime people who are maritime accepting souls off the lake now and being called back to the port. Look, I have a lot of respect. One big image really doing good stuff. John Wallace and Leo Kobe were on that boat. They were who
Okay, family, let me explain.
You need to go and research before you run your field and whatnot. What is the personal friend of mine?
Okay.
When you when he executed everyone, you have to go and go every time.
Okay, family, hold on. Let me answer your question.
Fresh out of time, caller. We got to respond to your question real quick before they take us off the air.
Okay, let me answer your question. I am one of the person who will give you that question with Emmett Monroe. He is one of the heroes that left, that's still living in the Bahamas, that he is one of our best captain today. Emmett could go all through the Bahamas without a radar, without a GPS, and he knows the water. Secondly, Ragged Island passed out at that time some of the best captains.
Yeah, that's right.
But always believe it was some good captain out of the Southeast Bahamas too. Melbourne and Auckland passed with some real good captains.
Okay, so we got to end it here, people. Thank you very much for clocking in with us on Maritime Matters. Our sponsor for the night again, One-on-One Pharmacy. You need your pharmaceutical products.